Alistair Darling.
Right. I want to go back to currency because on Sunday I read in the newspapers that you wished at our last debate that you made a better fist at explaining what your plan B is. Off you go and tell me.
I've heard of one-trick ponies, but this must be the most extraordinary thing tonight. Well, let me try again. As I was saying to the lady earlier on, that we think that having the currency arrangement, Scotland and England sharing the pound, is best for Scotland and best for the rest of the United Kingdom for the reasons that I said. I also outlined, Alistair, the other options for Scotland, the three Plan Bs, as I described them to Glenn.
Which one?
I outlined the flexible currency union that other countries like Sweden and Norway have, the fixed exchange rate like Denmark has or Hong Kong has with the dollar, and I pointed out, and thankfully, Alistair, you admitted it earlier on in this debate, we cannot be stopped from using the pound anyway. So, you see, three Plan Bs, Alistair, not one, three.
The reason I'm raising it again, because the currency is the foundation of our economy. It's the foundation of what we have to save, the value of our money, our interest rates, how much we can spend on things. Now, I want you to contemplate the impossible. Ask yourself, you're wrong. You don't get a currency union. What is your plan B? You must have a plan B.
Even your insults are retreaded from the last debate, Alistair. That's incredible. I set out what the options are. I've explained them to you in great detail, and I've asked the very obvious question to say why we are so adamant in putting forward what is best for Scotland. Is I'm seeking a mandate. I'm seeking a mandate from the people here, from the people at home. I want a mandate so as we can go in with the will of the Scottish people to have a common sense, common currency. If we get that mandate, if we win, Alistair, will you support that option?
It's a rotten option. It's bad for Scotland.
It's
bad for the United Kingdom.
You think they're all wrong?
All I'm asking you is, just suppose for one moment you didn't get a currency union. We need to know. It's not your money. It's everybody's money. What is it? Are we going to join? Are we going to have our own currency? Are we going to end up like Panama? One of your top advisors said we might have a Panamanian solution using the currency for a transitional period of 6 months. I don't want to be like Panama for 6 minutes. Is that your solution?
Alistair, there's 190 countries in the world. They have a range of currency options. According to you, an independent Scotland would be the first country in history where you describe all of the currency options as wrong. Now, I'm First Minister. I want to go into this referendum seeking a clear mandate from the sovereign will of the Scottish people. You've been asked a number of times, if you win the referendum, I will accept the result. If the yes side win the referendum, will you campaign for what the sovereign will of the Scottish people is?
This is Alistair Darling's cross-examination of you, First Minister.
I'll accept the result. But with ballot papers going out the day after tomorrow, people want to know what is going to happen to the money they've got. What currency are they going to have if they don't have a currency union? Just answer the question.
Well, I've pointed out, and you admitted it in this programme, we cannot be stopped from using the pound.
So that's plan B, is it?
I think there'll be a currency union because if you go down the road of denying us access to the assets of the Bank of England, you end up stuck with all the debt. Debt, incidentally, which you and the current Chancellor managed to accumulate 60%. Now, will you tell us, will you be prepared to support the sovereign will of the Scottish people if the yes side win the referendum?
Can we just stop there for a second? Hang on, I want questions from Alistair Darling and answers from the First Minister.
The result of the referendum, both of us are going to respect. Clearly, I'm going to get nowhere with Plan B. You're not going to tell us. Let me ask you about another Plan B, about oil revenues. We were talking earlier about the fact that North Sea oil revenues were £5 billion less than you expected last year, which is more than we spend on the schools budget. Now, when we're in the UK, that can be dealt with. If you're an independent country and you just lost the equivalent to your schools budget, how would you make up the gap?
So Donald Mackay, who was 25 years the advisor to successive Secretary of States for Scotland, wrote last week, he said there is no black hole in the Scottish Government's oil estimates, but the UK Treasury and the OBR are missing a mountain of black
yes, but
gold.
what if you're wrong?
There is a huge...
What if you're wrong about that?
I've just pointed out that Sir Donald Mackay gave that estimate last week. Alistair, when you were Chancellor of the Exchequer, you forecast that oil revenues would be $6 billion in 2011. In fact, they turned out to be $11 billion in 2011.
Yes, because
so therefore,
that was in part due to the incentives I gave the industry to develop the North Sea. That's why it happened. That's
what you do with this enormous natural resource is when you have an increase in the revenues you're expecting, you save them.
And when
you're having a decrease, you use that
I'm just putting to a simple proposition.
That's what other countries do. Why can't Scotland do the same thing?
If you have lost £6 billion of revenues because the production goes down, how do you make up the difference? How do you make up the difference when you've lost that much in just 1 year?
Production is going up, Alistair. That's why oil companies have invested £13 billion in the North Sea this year.
The oil revenues are going up is because of a UK-wide subsidy into the North Sea. That's why it is, because of decommissioning.
Okay, nobody can hear if you talk over one another.
The reason that revenues have gone down, Alistair, is that investment is offset against revenues, but they're investing it to increase production. We know that production will increase. Production will increase, as we know, because 80% of the companies say so.
We know that North Sea oil production is going up because of a UK subsidy that is going into decommissioning. But I'm asking you, in an independent Scotland, if you suddenly lost revenues, the equivalent of everything we spend on schools, half we spend on the health service, in just 1 year, how would you make up the difference?
Alistair, that is exactly why we put forward the Fund for Stabilisation, which allows you to save when oil revenues are high and lower when oil revenues are low. That is the policy we put forward. Every other oil country has faced this, and every other oil country
for 22 out of the last 23 years, Scotland has spent more than it's got in.
That's not true.
It is true. It's your government's figures.
Let's put it this way.
Every year for the last 23 years, bar one.
5 years, relative to the United Kingdom, Scotland was £8 billion better off, or would have been, as an independent country. Alistair, you know that because it's in the GERS figures.
I know your figures. I've looked at your figures. You are spending more than you're bringing in. I'm asking you how you make up the shortfall.
A difference, Alistair, which is a lot of money.
Alex Salmond, can you allow him in his final minute to get another question in?
Sure.
I'm asking you, if you're hit with a £6 billion deficit, hold on, identified by the the Institute of Fiscal Studies, which you quote with approval in your white paper, they say we're going to have to find £6 billion more over and above austerity. How would you find it?
Alistair,
are you going to raise taxes or are you going to cut services?
The Institute
Which one
of Fiscal Studies says Scotland would be a prosperous economy, whether it's independent.
Yes, but they also say you've got a £6 billion deficit to meet.
You had a deficit of £150 billion when you were Chancellor of the Exchequer. I'm not going to take lectures from the man who lectured and undermined the entire economy.
We are going to the polls in just 2 days' time, and he can't answer basic questions on currency. He can't answer basic questions on how much we'd spend.
I'm afraid that's the end of the time. OK, Alex Salmond, you now have 8 minutes to cross-examine Alistair Darling.
Alistair, how many children in Scotland is it estimated that will move into poverty by 2020, given the UK government's welfare spending cuts?
Too many children are moving into poverty.
How many?
Do you know what? During the time that I was in government, we halved the number of people living in poverty. It depends on what the government policies are, but there are too many children going into poverty. I want less children to be in poverty, and that's why I want to have a strong and secure economy to make sure that doesn't happen.
How many is the estimate of the children charities?
There are too many children living in poverty
Would it
at the moment.
surprise you to know it's 100,000 extra children in Scotland moving into poverty with the welfare reforms? Do you think that's a price worth paying for Westminster government?
I don't agree with the present government's welfare policy. I am a Labour politician. I want to see a Labour government elected next year, precisely because I want to see us continue the work that we took to reduce the amount of children living in poverty.
The Labour Party have said they will continue with the welfare policies of the Tory government. 100,000 children. We heard early, 100,000 people with disabilities have also been affected by the welfare reforms. Is that a price worth paying for Westminster government?
I said earlier, as a society, we have an obligation to ensure that we get children out of poverty.
But that's not happening.
Hold on a minute. Just stop interrupting. That is why, for example, I found the fact that you as a government have cut £1 billion from anti-poverty programmes. You've cut 130,000 college places, most of whom were going to young people whose only way out of poverty is through education. So don't lecture me on what we're doing wrong. Just look at your own record.
Into poverty, Alistair. 100,000 people with disability. These are the people who are suffering from Westminster government. Now, it's all very well for you to say you're a Labour politician, so why are you standing here defending Conservative policies on a joint platform with a Conservative Party?
Come on. I disagree with the Conservative government. I disagree with your government. I believe, and people across parties believe, that we're better as part of the United Kingdom, just as you're in bed with some people that you wouldn't normally be in bed with. But on the issues of welfare reform, on the issues of stopping poverty, on the issues of making sure that we're a fair and just society, I believe we can best do that with the strength and resources that come from the part of the United Kingdom, and not taking on the risks that you're taking on.
If we move to National Health Service, devolution means they can't run down and privatise our NHS directly the way they're doing in England. But what they can do is starve it of resources. They are cutting back on the money provided to the Scottish Government. Do you think that's an accurate statement?
The amount of money that is
being
the amount of money, the amount of money that is being spent on the health service has increased throughout our term of government, and the amount of money has increased since that time. It is for you to decide at the moment. It's for you to decide how much money you spend in health in Scotland at the moment. It's a choice that you can make. Don't start blaming other people for it.
Well, that is a quote not from the Scottish National Party, the Scottish Government, but from Unison, the union. Is that an accurate statement of the position? They're the health service workers, Alistair.
I know they're health service workers, and everybody either working in the health service or using the health service want to see it properly funded and resourced. What I'm saying to you is the decision in Scotland is for you to decide how much you're going to be spending on it.
There's cutbacks from Westminster, Alistair. Is it an accurate statement, as Unison have described?
You know, in your manifesto, your deputy earlier this year has made the point time and time again.
Is it an accurate statement?
It is for you to decide how much money you spend in Scotland.
Is it an accurate statement?
Don't play games on this.
No,
this is talking about people's jobs, people's lives. It's an important issue.
This is the National Health Service.
It is for you to decide how much money you spend there. Don't go blaming other people.
Do your colleagues estimate that it will cost to replace the Trident nuclear system in 2020? How much in monetary terms?
Look, I don't think you choose either between defending the country and spending money on the health service.
How much?
It costs us over a 40-year period, something like £80 billion.
Right, so £4 billion a year.
But I don't believe...
Do you think that's a sensible use of money?
That you choose between defending your country and spending money on the health service.
If we're independent, Alistair.
Don't you lecture me on that.
Well, I'm
in the 13 years I was in government, I was part of a government that made sure we did spend more money on the health service, and given another chance, we spend more money again in the future.
£4 billion a sensible allocation of resources when the health service is under pressure, Alistair?
I understand there are many people who think Trident is wrong.
No, but is it sensible?
Hold on. I do think that we do have an obligation to defend this country, just as we have an obligation to make sure we spend money on public services. So that's the answer to your question.
Name 3 job-creating powers that the Better Together parties intend to give the Scottish Parliament. Name 3 job-creating powers.
Well, first of all, devolving the work programme to local authorities. What the work programme does, and if it's devolved further as I want to see it,
the work programme pays people poverty wages.
Ask a question, for goodness sake, wait till you get the answer.
What are 3 powers?
The jobs programme, first of all.
That's the poverty wages, yeah?
And secondly, making sure that we guarantee people, if they're unemployed, getting back into work, either through work and training. And critically, by maintaining the United Kingdom, maintaining jobs in the financial services industry, in manufacturing, in food and drinks industry, that is the best guarantee of jobs in the future.
If you can't name 3,
as well as research and development.
Name 2.
I've told you. I've told you in terms of the programme for devolving work, in the programme in terms of getting more jobs.
These
are jobs. Goodness me, Becoming part of the United Kingdom means that we get jobs in the financial services industry, jobs in food and drinks industry, jobs in science and research and development, jobs in the university sector.
What are the job-creating powers that you're going to guarantee to the Scottish Parliament if the No campaign wins the day?
Because the Scottish Parliament has full powers over health, education, transport.
We've got them already.
In addition to that, we will have more powers in relation to welfare, as well as issues in relation to taxes. They do create jobs. The public service creates jobs, but critically what we do in the private sector, being part of the United Kingdom, creates jobs. And I'm sorry, you just can't see that.
No, I'm asking you, what powers are the Better Together parties going to transfer to the Scottish Parliament to enable us to create more jobs? Name 3 job-creating powers.
I've told you.
No, you haven't.
I have told you.
You mentioned the work programme which pays people poverty wages. Name 3 job-creating powers.
That staying part of the United Kingdom is the best way of guaranteeing jobs in the future.
That's not the question.
If we leave the United Kingdom, we put thousands of thousands of jobs at risk. That's the difference between you and me.
You're promising us a powerhouse Parliament. Name 3 job-creating powers. It's a simple question.
I've done that.
No, you haven't done that.
Over and over again.
Give him a
you mentioned the work programme.
All you've got to offer in your white paper is a promise that whatever the rate of corporation tax George Osborne fixed, you'll make it 3 pence cheaper. Isn't that great for Starbucks and Amazon? It doesn't do anything to create real jobs in this country.
You're going to give to Scotland. What are they?
I've told you, being part of the United Kingdom, it gives us the advantage of creating jobs in the future.
One last point.
Financial services industry, food and drinks industry,
we're not going to get the 3
development.
job-creating powers, but what we have found out, there's 100,000 children faced with poverty, 100,000 people with disability. They're going to spend £4 billion a year on Trident, and he can't name the 3 job-creating powers for the Parliament. Alistair, you've just made a wonderful case for voting yes in this referendum.
You can't tell me what money we'll be using. How on earth can you guarantee anything in public services if you can't tell me what money we'll be using?
The time is up.